Our interview today, we're going to welcome Rakesh Naidu, the President and CEO of Windsor-Essex Regional Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our show today, Rakesh.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me.
First question is always, how are you and your family doing through this pandemic?
We're doing well. Personally, I've added a few kilos, which will take some time to come down. But otherwise, the family is healthy. My wife, she's a physician, so she does her part in terms of supporting the community. She's got a clinic and she works out at the Windsor Regional Hospital. So she's keeping well. The family's keeping well, and yeah, we're doing our best, to make sure that we make the best of the time by doing things together as a family. That I don't remember how long it's been that some of the things and some of the games that we are playing now, we haven't played in ages. So I think that's a good part of this situation that we're in, that we're getting more family time. So we're making the most of it. Thank you.
How has COVID-19 affected the operations at the Chamber?
First of all, the Chamber itself, its operations with the staff that we have, it's all now remote, as most of us are doing now. So we were equipped to work remotely even before this thing happened. We actually transitioned to cloud-based services, so we were all up and running. So when we had to make a decision, it was an easy transition for us. So all of my colleagues, we are working remotely, and we are in touch with our members via emails, via phone calls. We're doing a lot of virtual meetings. We're doing webinars, conferences, conference calls. So and a lot of phone calls. We've called maybe about 500, 600 of our members, and that's something that we're doing every day. So there is a lot of engagement and interaction, even more than before, because I think this is a time when we think the Chamber is required more by its members, to offer support. So it's business as usual for us. It is even more busier than before. Yes, we are not offering any, one-on-one meetings or in-person meetings, but our meetings and conferences now have transitioned over to the virtual world. So we are offering quite a few webinars and topics that will be of interest to our members. So business as usual, and it's been quite busy actually.
What's the current situation with businesses in our community?
Well, like everywhere else throughout Canada and the other parts of the world, this has been very devastating. We've got companies of all sizes that have seen a huge reduction in terms of business volume. And in the case of small businesses, it is even more, especially those that rely on day-to-day traffic, foot traffic for their operations and for their revenues. Those businesses have been impacted significantly. About 90% of our companies have been impacted in some form of or shape. And the businesses that are continuing to operate, they are also not operating at full capacity, except some that are best suited to take advantage of the current situation and have product and services that is needed at this time. Those are the ones that are doing very well, and thank God for that there are at least some companies that are doing well. But the vast majority of the companies are really suffering quite a lot, and businesses is suffering. It'll take some time for this thing to come back to normalcy, and the businesses will need a lot of support. And the provincial government, the local government, the federal government, they're all doing their part, to help out, but still a lot more needs to be done to, bring back things to some level of normalcy. And the definition of normalcy is definitely changing now.
No question about that. What are some of the concerns you're hearing from the members?
Well, cash flow is a big challenge, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. As I mentioned, there are several businesses that rely on day-to-day traffic, and for them, they don't have a huge reserve. They have employees that they have to take care. And in many cases, employees, unfortunately, have been laid off temporarily. In some cases, there have been permanent layoffs. But businesses actually are struggling because of lack of cash flow. And, there are overheads that businesses have to pay no matter what happens, whether the business is operating or not, there's rent that needs to be paid there. So, the things that those overheads somehow need to be managed. And that's what, the chamber has been working closely with our chamber network and the other politicians locally, provincially and federally to find whatever support we can for the businesses, and whether that is rent support or the other things that we're strongly lobbying for. I think businesses need a lot of support. So cash flow is a big challenge. Access to employees is a big challenge because, as I mentioned, some of them are having a very small staff. Some of them are not available to work out of health concerns. Some of them are very anxious to go back to work. So that's the other thing. Disruption in supply chain is another issue where, even products that are needed at this time, whether it's hand sanitizer or whether, it's the face, the shield or components that need to be made, for ventilators or beds and so on, there is a shortage of raw material, there's shortage of components because the supply chain has been disrupted. So that's those are some of the things that we are hearing a lot. And mental health challenges. That's another thing. Anxiety. Whether it's the owner of the business or whether it's an employee. It is a time where people are very anxious. They don't know, how long this will last and how long they need to be there, to do whatever they can to sustain their operation, and how much they need to dig deeper into their reserves and how much they can do, and at what point of time they need to make a decision on where is the business heading. So those are some of the things that businesses are very much affected by.
So what are some of the things that you're doing to assist your members? Initiatives. I've seen you've had the webinars going. What are some of the other initiatives you have?
Yeah, the chamber more than ever is required at this time. The chamber network throughout the country is required to really identify what are some of the things that the businesses need. What do we need to advocate and lobby for on behalf of our members, on behalf of the business community? So this is a time when the chamber, the entire network has been very proactive. We've identified issues all the way starting from, when the wage subsidy was announced, in terms of what improvements need to be done on the wage subsidy. How do you get, people to qualify for that? What should be the qualification criteria? And how do you ensure that all businesses of all sizes have some benefit come to them? And there are still a lot of issues that need to be addressed. But I have to say that, it's been a fantastic opportunity for the chamber network to provide the input to provincial government, local government, and federal government. And it's been received very well, I have to say. Each level of government is doing a tremendous job of supporting businesses. Having said that, more needs to be done. So whether it is rent support or whether it is, providing access to capital for startup companies, because right now they're not included in the CBA, or whether it is changing the criteria for accessing the 40,000 loan, or whether it is help to self-employed people, or whether it is access to people that have not been traditionally able to, to tap the government programs and the funding programs, or whether it is something that's got to do with, deferral of taxes, whether it's property taxes, or whether it's the custom duties and so on. So all these measures that have been taken, and more needs to be taken, the chamber network has provided an input in that, and we continue to collect feedback from our members and then provide that input to elected officials so that it can then go into policy development and make change, and the changes are made so that the existing programs, the programs that have been recently announced, can be modified to suit the companies.
Lastly, what can business learn from this current situation?
Well, it's the new normal now, right? There's a lot of learning from this. Companies, I think, all over, small, medium, large businesses have realized that business is not going to be the same, and they need to really look into what they can do to pivot at this time. What else can be done? Diversification. We've been talking about this for a long time. We've seen that how companies who have diversified their product portfolio, their product services offering, they have done well or they've done better than the others. So whether it is diversifying into sectors that will be, growing in the near future, what can one do to be part of that growth? So that's one thing. Adaption of technology. We're seeing that companies who at this point of time are adopting technology, whether it's for communication or whether it is to offer the product services, whether it is to move their current offering from a traditional way of business retail to an e-commerce way of retailing their products and services. I think those are some of the things that companies can benefit from. I think the days of really strong globalization will be something that companies will be looking at and saying, well, does it really make sense for us? Or does it make sense for us to be more local, which is, to, yes, have some aspect of the business which is global, but also focus a lot on the local opportunities and take benefit from the local companies and supply chain that would be here, right? They'll be evaluating on whether going forward we need to have a supply chain that goes to the corners of the world, or whether we should be looking at sourcing locally. Whether companies who have been playing, who have been really dealing with one sector, whether they need to, see the opportunity in other sectors, right? I mean, there's an example of companies here that have been in agribusiness, and now they're providing products for other sectors. There've been an example of manufacturing companies that are now providing their products and services for the medical sector, and so on. So there are so many companies, so many sectors that will be looking at intersectoral collaboration. So I think that's another opportunity which companies need to see. And then I think first and lastly, but not the least, is how do we take care of our employees? How do we manage employee anxiety? How do we bring them back slowly back to normalcy? What kind of support can be provided? And what kind of programs that they need to tap. There are so many small businesses that don't necessarily tap government programs, so don't have access to them, don't have the resources to tap them. I think they will look into that, because right now there is a need for them to get whatever support they can, and the government is offering support. So I think it'll be imperative, it'll be important for companies to be able to tap those programs as well.
Rakesh, thanks for your time. Thanks for those words. Wish you and all the members at the Chamber good health. Please stay healthy and stay well.
Thank you so much, Robert. You too. Take care.